All right, so Ron, tell us about the role of veterinarian in the use of any of these animal health products, whether it be these vaccines or these antibiotics.
Well, the role of the veterinarian is very much what it would be as our family practitioner. He's someone that we'd consult to see what the best preventative strategies, how to avoid getting sick, also work with a nutritionist perhaps to help us keep it healthy, but also then prescribe medications when it was the best alternative, outline those vaccination protocols like we see. But he is a animal health professional, and we need to use him in that vein, and somebody that can go in and look at our operation, know what our risks are, help us assess what those are, and then outline a plan along with the owner and operator of that operation to figure out what would be the best approach. And it comes down from biosecurity all the way into vaccination, treatment, withholding periods. They can also help a producer if there's nothing on the market labeled for beef cattle. The veterinarian has the ability to go use products labeled for other species and use them in food animal production. But when we do that in an extra label fashion, then they're also responsible for establishing a new withdrawal period so we can avoid the residue issue. And so that's a very significant role they play in the industry because we don't have a lot of products labeled for beef cattle. Particularly on minor species, it's even less. So they play a pivotal role in not only animal health, but also in human health because they help protect. Sometimes we find diseases, zoonotic diseases in livestock that might transfer over. The whole issue of antibiotic resistance, they play a role in that, trying to identify any problems here that might get transferred into the human side of it as well. So this whole One Health concept kind of comes full circle when you look at how it all works here. But the best way we can use them is to have what we'd call a valid veterinary client-patient relationship. And that's the same thing you'd have with your family practitioner. He knows your lifestyle, everything else. The veterinarian would know your operation, how you manage cattle, what your risks were. And so then they can assess the need for medical intervention, whether it be antibiotics, vaccines, whatever it might be. They have the ability to do that. And you need to be able to get back in touch with them, just like you would your doctor if things don't work out. What's the follow-up? They also need to be available to make any changes, so that readily available and follow-up component of it is really important in this process. And that keeps people from outside your production system actually from writing prescriptions or whatever. So they have the ability to write prescriptions for antibiotics that might go into the feed, into the water now, and any restricted use antibiotics that aren't available over the counter, and most of our really good ones are not available over the counter and require veterinary prescription. So we have to have a good working relationship with them in beef cattle production or livestock production to have the access to the products we need in a timely fashion.
So it sounds like it's much like a medical doctor, your relationship, and then also with these from a dog or a cat veterinarian, very similar type of format. Kind of describe a little bit about the training for a veterinarian that works with beef cattle versus a veterinarian that works with dogs and cats. Is it the same somewhat, or is it different, or how is it different if it is?
Well, they'll go through a lot of the same basic trainings, but then there's also these specialties. When a ruminant animal, because of the rumen, they have different issues that they're going to deal with. They're exposed to different things in the environment than a dog or a cat might be. But there's a lot of similar type diseases, and so I think they study a very similar path for a long time, but when you get in practice, as most people say, that's when you start learning things. And so they've got all this basic information, but then you have to learn to adapt it to a production level. And what's really unique about veterinarians is compared to medical doctors, nobody can tell them what's wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's
animal, yeah, that's right.
So that's where we have that veterinary client-patient relationship. So we've got a relationship not only with the owner, but the animal, which is the patient. And that patient can't tell him anything. So that's where a veterinarian has to really be sharp to try to figure out what might be going on without any input other than somebody observing from the outside.